And we're back. At least one of us is on the FCS Edge. Yes, hello again, FCS Nation. I'm Craig Haley of Stats Perform and theanalyst.com. During the offseason, I'm flying solo without co-host Zach McKinnell. Oh, did Zach and I have a fun 2025 season with the podcast? I'm looking forward to continuing the FCS Edge together in 2026. Fortunately, in the offseason, and yes, is there ever an offseason for FCS news? Hardly. Graham Bell, our producer, is still the co-pilot. We have a slightly different format where our focus will mostly be with key people in the FCS community, a guest each month to help tell the FCS story. Last season, the FCS Edge had many terrific guests, including Jerry Rice, Jared Allen, Tim Polasek from NDSU, TC Taylor from Jackson State. You can find all the interviews on our YouTube page. Now, today we're kind of picking up where we left off in January. In Nashville, Tennessee, the first championship game in Music City was an absolute success, capped, of course, by Montana State's 35-34 overtime win over Illinois State. First Bank Stadium was on the campus of Vanderbilt. It was a terrific venue. Nashville was a great host city, and the FCS is headed back there in early January for another championship weekend to conclude the 2026 season. But the wheels are spinning right now as the NCAA is in the midst of a bidding process to determine a host beyond the 2026 season. We're going right to the source of such information, Ty Halpin, the NCAA Director of Championships and Alliances for Division I. Ty works closely with the Playoff Selection Committee. He was a guest on the FCS Edge in early November, and today we want to get an update on the potential direction of championship weekend. Ty, welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. Now, Ty, the results in the 2025 playoffs were a little different than recent years. I mean, you had the 9 overall road wins, especially, Illinois State had 4, North Dakota State, South Dakota State, they were eliminated in the round of 16, very unusual. Montana State, first championship in 41 years. Can you kind of sum this season up? I mean, it was just so different.
Yeah, I think, Craig, it was, the last weekend of the season was kind of emblematic of the way the tournament went out. It was kind of chaos and a lot of great games, close games, which I think is a real testament to the parity that we've started to see in FCS. The assumption that the home team has always kind of got a pretty big advantage in the tournament, which has generally been the case, I would say. This year kind of got turned on its head. So it was fun to see. It was great to watch. Behind the scenes, trying to figure out where that next team was potentially gonna go. In Illinois State's case, the airport there in Normal got a workout for them, and it was great to see. Though, you just never know when somebody's gonna get hot. I know Illinois State wanted their last game back for sure in the regular season, and it's a great thing about sports. You get an opportunity the next time out, usually to put your best foot forward, and they certainly did that.
Now, Frisco, Texas had hosted the FCS championship game for the prior 15 seasons. What was the NCAA's assessment on Nashville's first season as the host city?
Yeah, I think we've talked before. My main concern with going to Nashville was kind of the newness, which is both an opportunity and a risk. I think the way Vanderbilt approached it, the way the sports council there really knew its city and knew what would fit well for our event. I really think just played out really nosely. This is, again, no offense at all to Frisco, because they have helped us build this, no doubt, to the point where it's become one of those events that people really want to bring to their city. And Frisco, I take that as a really good sign that Frisco's renovating their stadium in a massive way. And really, if you're going to do that at the same spot, you do need to kind of take a step back for a little while to get that right. And they're doing a great job there. We're excited to see their progress as they move forward. The other events around Nashville that were added, the NFL Showcase the forum for FCS administrators that probably a lot of our fans aren't necessarily aware of, but it was kind of a seminar, a day to talk FCS together as a group. Really was well received. I give credit to the OVC for helping run that and really get it off the ground. It takes a lot more than you realize to do events, as you know, with the awards show that you do. Those things I think really elevated the event. And then Nashville's downtown area is hard to replicate. I mean, that didn't happen overnight either for the city. So our fans really enjoyed that part of it, having somewhere to congregate as a group and really enjoy a different thing that you couldn't get in Montana or Illinois on a weekend in January. So that all of those things really were important. But for me, the feedback we've received from the teams is really, really important. It's always been great in Frisco. It was great again in Nashville, and that's number one for me.
Well, I mean, Nashville obviously is hosting this coming season, Ty, the 2026 championship. And then the bid process is open up. I'm under the impression it's ongoing now. Cities are putting in their bids and making their cases to be the 2027 season and beyond. Can you talk about the bid process and the timetable for all of this?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I mentioned were new this year, the showcase in particular, and the forum. Adding those to the bid specs, not necessarily a mandate that the hosts would have to put out a bunch of expense for that, but it actually makes the event more attractive to have more hotel nights and things like that for those types of events. So it may change how cities might bid for this. So we're finishing that up. Hopefully, we'll have that out for our prospective cities in the next week, 2 weeks, definitely by the end of the month. I think the timeline will be relatively quick to get the bids back, and then work through things certainly by the end of the spring to have our committee look at presentations, things like that, and see what comes back. I'm certainly encouraged that we know we have several very interested cities that I think can do a great job hosting our game, and we're excited about that. I think the event, the way it went this year, what I didn't mention was the weather was really cooperative. Don't know that we can count on that every year, although knock on wood, it's been pretty good the last 5 or 6 years. And that is a factor certainly in the overall enjoyment of the event. But ESPN did a great job, I thought, of showcasing it. They added some things. The studio pregame on site and halftime, I thought were really impressive elements that make it feel bigger, make it feel like, yeah, I need to stop and watch this if I'm a general sports fan. So all of that is really positive, and but that's kind of the timeline. We'll be hopefully have some decisions at least by the end of the spring.
So is the NCAA providing like the requirements and almost like a standard format of questions, or you're also helpful that a city might inject an idea that you hadn't thought of previously?
Yeah, there's certainly creativity in the bid process to let the city put some things forward. A good example is in Frisco for quite a few years we had a fan fest around the event that worked, I thought, really well there. Variety of reasons why it kind of fell off the map a little bit. That's a kind of thing that someone might be interested in proposing, and you got to pay for those things. You have to have a plan together to do those types of things. But that there is creativity to say what's unique about your city, your area, your stadium, whatever, that would make us kind of think, oh, I could see FCS fitting into that pretty well, pretty nicely. And that would be a unique thing for our teams and fans to go experience. So we definitely encourage that. There are some basics like number of hotel rooms and things like that you just have to have reserved, and for the teams, et cetera, that are very important to us too. But those are pretty standard, I think, across any of the bids.
Well, while Frisco was extended a few times as the host, their contract, were there any other cities bidding at the time, or did you just extend them?
So the extensions with Frisco were actually before my time. I do know that it was mostly the relationship was really great, and they wanted to sort of build buzz around the FCS championship game in Frisco, and I think it's been a great partnership through those 15 years. It's you've been around and I've been around long enough to remember when it moved there, and there was some nervousness about that. A new place don't necessarily didn't necessarily have a FCS bell cow there that was absolutely going to be a slam dunk if any of the teams in the area made it. So I think it's important to remember that there was some trepidation about being there or going to a very neutral site. In outside of really the FCS footprint at that point. So I think that what they've done there to build it, and NCAA supported it, but it really took a lot for Frisco and FC Dallas to invest in it and make it really important. And that's what we hope other cities that are interested in bidding will understand and recognize as being pretty important. I will say, Craig, in the last bid process, there were some very interested cities that missed the mark because of just that. They didn't really do the homework to understand FCS and understand what kind of fan bases that our programs bring to the table.
Sure. Well, at the time where Nashville won the new bid and Frisco was involved, they were going to try and host at the Dallas Cowboys Indoor Center. It was reported that Houston, Kansas City, St. Louis, they had put in bids. Are there any other cities right now, and how many cities would be involved, do you expect, in this bid process?
Yeah, I don't know how many until we open it up that really will go ahead and put in a bid. There were quite a few at the game this past year in Nashville that I think were very impressed with what they saw. Both from the engagement with the fans and the teams, but also the facility there, and just we had great engagement. Probably it blew me away a little bit on how quickly our premium areas sold out after the two teams were clear. So that's a really good positive momentum thing for FCS, and that's why Frisco, for example, is leaning into building more premium space in their building. Not for us, but that's just the way of the industry. So seeing that, I think I'm going to be surprised if we don't have some new interests from different cities other than the ones you mentioned this time around. I would hate to mention names and then not have them bid, but it's an impressive group for sure.
Well, because Frisco went through one stadium renovation at Toyota Stadium, now there's another one going on, and they've put that investment, and they had to sacrifice a year of the championship. Is there any feeling of like a little bit of an obligation to give them a championship game at least at some point in the future because of the investment they've made?
I don't view it that way necessarily on the investment piece, because that for the city of Frisco and the FC Dallas and their whole organization is really an investment more for that. If we're a one game event, very important to us, but if you think about the overall sports calendar for the cities looking to host our event, it's one weekend out of the year. We don't want them to treat us that way, of course, but that's the reality. And in Frisco, I do think there's that history we've talked about. The 15 years is not to be discounted, and how much they've helped elevate the event and grow it. But I wouldn't say that they have, because they've invested so much in their stadium, that means we have to give it to them. I think more so they know our event, and they know our teams. They know what some of the preferences are. The stadium folks, really they feel comfortable going there. So that's more of it to me than some of the other places that might be interested in hosting.
Sure. Now, Ty, Nashville has, been through one championship game. In this second year, is there anything you're expecting from them that you feel that they may feel more comfortable about and have the knowledge and the background now that might even elevate it some more?
Yeah, I think for all of us, anytime you go through something a place that you haven't had it before, you learn some things. So we learned a few things about the tailgating areas and how that really could operate maybe a little bit differently for our event in the future. There's things that most fans probably don't see that we probably will adjust a little bit. Nothing went enormously wrong. But there's always things that could be improved. And that was the same in Frisco for the 15 years. We always had something we're like, wow, I don't know why we didn't think of that, but let's put that in for next year, and the operations behind the scenes that the fans generally don't see and teams experience a little bit. Really, there are a few things that we probably will adjust, but overall, it was a very, very positive event, and I think our teams, the team response has been really, really be- elevated, high level. Obviously, the hotel was a whole experience in itself at the Gaylord there for the teams, and you know the captains on both teams kind of said, I never thought I'd ever stay in a hotel like that. That was such a cool experience, and as a person that's been there a few times for conventions and things, I wasn't sure how a 22-year-old guy would take it, but they loved it. They had a great experience, so I'm really pleased with that too.
How many years are you telling the interested cities that this next contract is for?
Yeah, so we're getting online with the rest of the NCAA's bid process, which has gone out through I guess it'll be our 31 game. So we're looking at doing that. We do have some flexibility in our event specifically that if it doesn't seem like there's a right fit for a year, we're not going to just award it to somebody just to do that. But there's value in having it in one place, as we've seen in Frisco, and then there's also value in moving it around. So there's a yin and yang to that a little bit. Like you can plan out hotel contracts and things like that are very important to the event on a longer term, but the flexibility I think is important. There's a lot of events around our event. We found a home for now that looks really, really good from a TV perspective, and it seems like the fans have um, responded very positively on that Monday night event. But things change sometimes. If the NFL adds a week, there are a lot of factors that could make us need to adjust our thinking on the date.
Sure. We're visiting with Ty Halpin, the NCAA Director of Championships and Alliances for Division One. Just a few more questions. This is very interesting stuff to hear. How about the CFP National Championship game? That has been recently announced as pushed back 1 week. January 25th, 2027 is this season's championship game. That's a week later than normal. Now, the FCS Championship game has been announced for January 4th, but there's been years where it's been changed. Is the NCAA considering a switch by moving the game from the 4th to maybe the 11th to stay in line with the CFP?
Yeah, Craig, good question. This really is due to the NFL's schedule and where their formula for how they set out their weeks. So the the current schedule for us is that the last week of the NFL season, they don't play on Monday night, so that's where our window has been. So that this year or next year would be for us the 11th, and not the 4th as we had initially planned. So we're working through a few things, but that is under consideration to move to the 11th. Obviously for for very good reasons to make sure our event gets the attention it deserves. There's a lot that goes into that, though. We do have hotel contracts with Nashville. When we awarded the bid for 2 years, that was one of the nice things about it. You could go ahead and do those contracts. So um, things are looking good to make some adjustments, but our committee has to ultimately make that final call.
When would that have to be decided by?
Um, there's no deadline on it. We're actually having a bunch of our virtual meetings with our committee this week as kind of our annual meeting. So met with them yesterday and started that discussion. So um, I hope to have something to share pretty soon.
Sure. Obviously, North Dakota State's success was such a key in all of the FCS championship success in the last 15 years. I mean, the way FCS has grown. Obviously, NDSU is moving on to the FBS level. Just what's the NCAA perspective of a program that brought so much to the FCS and the loss that's going to be felt in the FCS?
Yeah, well, first you said it, the exceptional performance on the field, and I will say even more so the way they handled themselves as a program off the field and organized themselves really set a bar for FCS and programs that were trying to compete at that level. That really helped to raise everybody up, I think. So, Matt Larson and the all the folks in Fargo have always been super professional, wonderful to work with, including this year after they lost to Illinois State. They had some events tentatively planned for Nashville that were um, many schools had tentative plans for Nashville, so that I don't mean that to say that they were assuming they would be there, but events of this size, you really do have to plan a couple weeks out. So um, they still brought 500 or so alumni boosters and participated in a lot of our events, which I think says a lot about Matt and their program and how they expect to treat things. So obviously a different level for them. They membership movement in the NCAA is nothing new. It happens a lot more than people realize at all levels, and it's alignment for your institution at that point in your history. And this, obviously North Dakota State felt like this was the right time to make a move, and I wish them nothing but positivity and the best. It does change things for the FCS championship. In some ways makes it more open for folks. I mean, one team that was that dominant for that long really does change things that they're no longer going to be part of it. So I think for everybody, that's probably competitively a good thing, and you can really see a path to the championship. For a lot of programs. And I think Illinois State showed, it wasn't impossible to maybe not play your best game and win in Fargo, but that's a pretty fine line to be able to accomplish. But I think, for North Dakota State, for Sacramento State, for any of the schools that have moved up, I think those are institutional decisions, and I hope we've provided them a great vehicle to elevate. And that's what they want to do for their school. That's an institutional decision, but we've enjoyed having them all those years that they were here.
Well, the FCS championship game has done very well with having the larger fan bases make it to the final game. And, with North Dakota State leading the way, but, South Dakota State, Montana, James Madison when they were in the FCS. Is there anything the NCAA can do to help years when, say, like Towson in 2013, where it has a smaller fan base? I mean, there's such momentum with the larger fan bases. What can the NCAA do if a team gets there that doesn't have a large fan base?
Yeah, good question, Craig. That is kind of one of the pieces of the bid process that we asked the cities to envision. So let's say you had Team X versus Team Y, and neither one of those fan bases are traditionally very large. How would you help us locally fill that stadium. Part of what we've tried to do is bring in different ancillary events like the forum I mentioned, the showcase with the NFL. We also did with the Titans a girls showcase for girls flag football, which was a really neat event that um, you know I'm not saying that there's thousands of tickets to be had there that you could fill up the stadium with those, but it does help to raise awareness around the city. So whatever city bids for that's part of the ask is, okay, what would you do if you had two fan bases that just they're going to bring a couple thousand each, but what could you do to help us make it a great environment for the national championship? Um, Obviously, knock on wood, we've not had that be a real big issue. I think you saw with Illinois State this year, being able to being close enough to drive helped, but their fan base engaged at a different level, I think, than I was expecting, and really showed out. I thought it was great, and there are programs in FCS like that if they make a run like that, they're going to come out of the woodwork that um, you know you maybe just underestimate how many folks might come. We've also got some great up and coming programs. I think Tarleton State and some others that have recently elevated to FCS are really engaged on building an identity through FCS through football that really is healthy and kind of the way it goes. North Dakota State was Division II not that long ago, so same with South Dakota State. I mean, we act as if they've been here the whole time, but awesome fan base. Justin does a great job with them, but there are some great things in FCS that I think it's easy to pick at the negatives, but I see North Dakota State moving on as I wish they would stay in FCS selfishly, but boy, their program, if there's not one that's was ready, it's that one, and Matt and their staff are just so great. So good luck to them.
Last question, Ty. I mean, is there anything about the bid process that we haven't talked about or you want to point out? You mentioned through the 2031 championship, the contract. I assume you mean the 2030 season, the game in 2031, but anything you want to point out about the bid process?
I think we've touched on a lot of it. The early round games this year, honestly, were really well attended, and I would say to the fan bases there, really appreciate that support when games are on campus. I know it's tough sometimes Thanksgiving weekend for those first round games, and we'd love to figure out a better calendar to get away from that. It just doesn't seem possible that we could do that. But even with that, there have been some really great home crowds, and that's part of the championship that I think maybe is underrated sometimes. But no, in the bid process, I think we've hit the main things. Maybe just flexibility on the types of things we talked about. If you hopefully two great fan bases advance, and that's who makes ticket selling a lot easier. But it's really the environment. So what could you do to enhance that environment if there is a year where we don't maybe have our traditionally large fan bases? That would be a big one to me.
By Ty Halpin, the NCAA Director of Championships and Alliances for Division I. We appreciate your time today. This has been very enlightening. I'd say I hope you get some rest in the off season, but as we've discussed today, it's hard to do. There's always something going on with FCS.
Yep, I'm proud to represent FCS, and I know our commissioners and ADs across the country continue to work really hard to improve this brand of football, and the engagement that we've had and the response from the NFL has been really awesome too. That event was as helpful to them as it was to the players that got to participate. So really proud of that step forward, and look forward to the bid process. And I'm sure we'll be talking again soon, Craig.
Well, we thank all of our followers of the FCS Edge. It's been a terrific episode, and we will be back in a few more weeks of the FCS Edge.